Hello, welcome to day one of our NEM event. We're calling this STEMPowered, and it's being hosted by Centennial College's own biotechnology department. We're so excited to have with us an amazing panel of speakers, which is a mix between some of our alumni and other members who have incredible experience in the industry themselves. We will be hearing from each and every one of them, and I already have a whole load of questions loaded up, requested by students. Looking forward to hearing from you. So I would actually just like to get started. Before I do, for all of our students or guests in the chat, if you have any questions, you can drop them into the chat and we'll read them out as we go along, just so we allow each of our speakers enough time to introduce themselves and to go over what they would like to cover. So if you have any questions, again, please drop it into the chat and we will go through them as we do. So to start with, give me one moment. I know Abhay Bhardwaj is here, and I'm wondering, how would you feel about going first, just telling us a little bit about yourself? I'll actually allow you to introduce yourself. I'm sorry, I think you're muted.
Hello, everybody. My name is Abhay. I am an alumni of Centennial College. I graduated in December 2014, and currently I'm working as an operations supervisor at Lactalis, which is a milk industry. It was a pretty good adventure in Centennial College when I was over there. When I graduated, I started working with the department with the lab department. It was fun. I was helping students, and I was also mentored by one of our teachers who is retired now, Alan Richardson. Everyone must know him, and he's still a good friend of mine. We still chat. We visit each other once in a while. Due to COVID, we haven't seen him I haven't seen him for the last couple of years, but we're still chatting with each other on phone, on Facebook, and recently we shared our pictures when I was in school. It was me, Alan, and Carol posting in front of the SETA's office. My role as operations supervisor is pretty much complicated because I have to see how the raw milk is received in the plant and how it's processed and packaged and shipped out to different warehouses of the company or directly to the customers. So it's a big, tricky process. I enjoy doing it. Every day there's a different issues, problems we have to navigate it through, and then of course senior management is also involved taking those decisions. Usually I work in the afternoon shift. I took a day off today for this thing. So I'm just by myself after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, just monitoring the whole plant and of course working with everybody in there. It's a nice job. It's pretty good. And during COVID, our production also increased at least by 5%, and now it's still keep increasing as offices are coming open and schools are back to normal. And of course, our exports are also happening. That's me in general. Hello.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I think I will go through all of the introductions first, and then we'll start into the meat of it and get some of the interesting questions in play. One moment. Can I just confirm that Mahima is on this call, Mahima Agarwal?
Yes, I'm here, but I'm not able to change the name for some reason.
All right, I can do that for you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
While I have you, would you like to have the floor? Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come back to Centennial and meet some of the professors that we have already seen before. So it's always nostalgia which hits in. So I was a biotech student at Centennial, and I started my studies in fall 2017, and I graduated in 2019 from a 2-year course. And after that, I started my field job. I started working in the industry as a a quality control technologist in a food industry. And I was there for about a year. And then I came to public health and worked as lab technician for about like 2 years. So I would say that biotech, the name of the biotech from Centennial College helped me a lot to land into these two jobs. And they have become like a very important part of my life because I was able to actually figure out what I want to do with my life and like which field I want to go in at the end of the day. So that's healthcare for me now. So yeah, that's about it. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
We're so glad we have you here and talking a little bit more about your Centennial experience into now your working life. And I personally am graduating very soon, stepping into these shoes. So I will bombard you with all sorts of questions. So Simran, one moment. Simran Abbasi.
Yes. Hi.
I'm so glad you're here.
It's been a pleasure, actually. I was in Centennial in a fast track program for biotechnology, which was comprised in 2-year course, but actually it was supposed to be of 3-year. And I graduated in 2019. I landed my first job in Public Health Ontario 2 years ago. I worked there as a laboratory technician, then I left. And I am now working in the food industry and branching my way out, exploring things. Hello?
So currently, are you in the food industry right now as we speak?
Yes, currently I am working as a quality assurance and control technician in Bungie, which is oil manufacturing company, which is again food manufacturing company.
I see. Okay. So you said you did the 2-year program. Is that correct?
Yes, it was a biotechnology fast track.
At the time, did you have the option between the 1, the 2, and the 3-year program?
I think I did before I opted the 3-year program, like 2-year program. It was fast track. So the compromise is I will not have any summer break. So if I'm skipping the summer break, I will be able to complete that 4 semester in about 1.5 year.
Okay, I see. So I have a question for all 3 of you, actually. Between the 3 programs, the 1, the 2, and the 3-year biotechnology program, is there one that you wish you had done instead? Or are you happy with the way that you had done it? Any pros and cons, things like that?
I'm actually very proud of my my selection because I honestly see the difference between graduates who have studied diploma and who have studied the advanced diploma fast track. I have worked in so many places now that I have seen so many different graduates from Centennial College who were graduated from diploma courses and the advanced diploma, but the same topic, like same major biotechnology, but they are in a very different level. So it has helped me a lot. By just choosing the fast track program, it has helped me gaining the skill, gaining the knowledge, and the experience, and the professors, they are very helpful. They helped me throughout, like even after graduation. So it was a huge help to select Sentinel and the program itself.
Okay, and Mahima, any thoughts?
For me, I liked the advanced program I did. Because I already had my batch in biotechnology from India. The only thing I wish at is that if I was able to do the co-op program of the biotechnology program, which would have helped me to get a job much easier than trying to build up your work experience profile from scratch. I had at my point at 2013 and 2018, we only had 150 students in the batch. So out of 10% of the population was doing the co-op one, and they were working in companies, and they had more experience than me or anybody else in the program. So that was the only thing which if I was able to do, I would have been gone to that a co-op program. But it worked out for me. And then today I'm an operations supervisor at Lactalis. I did work in St. Hannah Meat Packers. I worked at Quad 32 as a QA lab tech. I worked in Lactalis too as a QA lab analyst, and now I'm operations supervisor. So I'm pretty much whatever I learned in the program, I'm utilizing it right now, and it's been helpful, especially food microbiology. I do miss the lectures.
I see.
I'd like to add something to which already Simran and Abhay have mentioned. I agree with both of them. And with Abhay, yes, it took me a lot of time to actually land into my field job after graduating, and that was before COVID. So like situations were normal, circumstances were like good, but it took me like so many months to land into a field job, and I reached to a point that I was like, oh God, I cannot do this anymore. I'm just leaving this country. I can't do this. I can't take it. But then I at that time it was more frustrating to see the people like my classmates who were actually in the co-op program, and they were able to land into a job much faster than me, like within like a few months. And they had their profile, like ready, and they had their contacts, they had their network ready. So it was like a matter of few months for them just after graduating that they just had to finish their paperwork and they were just ready to work in the job market. So I would highly recommend, and I have been telling people who I know that please go for co-op. And most of the people put off from the co-op just because they think that co-op is not paid. But this is something that I always tell them, that it is not paid for that 4 months, but it's going to be a lot more beneficial in the future. So it's going to pay you a lot in the future, so that is one thing. And the another thing is that I went for the fast track program because I already had my bachelor's from India. So they felt that I was able to get into this program because I already had the prerequisites for this course. So it doesn't really matter if you want to go for the advanced program or the advanced diploma or fast track program. But one thing you got to make sure that you have all the technical skills and the theoretical skills at the end of the day, because that is something that employers are looking for out there. And then I know that I landed into a food industry job, which was mainly analytical chemistry lab. And then I landed into PHO, which was all about genetic testing. So both of them, because I knew how to operate PCRs, I knew how to interpret PCR graphs, I knew how the graphs would reflect. So, I knew how the thing works, and theoretically and practically. So for both of my jobs, so I would strongly recommend that sometimes it's better not to take a shortcut, and it actually pays you a lot in the future. So that's my thing. Yeah.
That's actually very fascinating. And I have a question for you, Mahima, in the chat. So Camille's asking, you mentioned wanting, after working in the industry, you wanted to go into the healthcare field. Because Camille is also interested in healthcare, she wants to know what that transition would look like for you, or if you're going through it currently. If we could talk about that a little bit. Hello, Mahima. All right, I think she's frozen, so we'll circle back. In the meantime, I have a couple other questions. So Simran, can you tell me a little bit more about your day-to-day life, whether at any role that you'd like to share with?
So I have a couple of different roles, and they were very different from each other. Like I had this 3-month experience from a geographic chemical testing, which was very different. And then I landed into Public Health Ontario, where Mahima is working. And I was one of the co-workers there with her. and there it's genetics, and it was a COVID lab. And right now, currently, I am in quality assurance and control in oil manufacturing company, but they are very different. It's like it differs in a vast variety when which role to talk about. But if I talk about my current role, quality assurance and control in a food industry, most of my time at work goes in preparing the paperwork. So writing down the data of the test that we have done, whether it be chemical testing like titration or fatty acid calculation, PV oxidization, HPLC, gas chromatography, whatever the results we have to combine all the data and make a document for the customer. That is where my most of the time went. And while testing is like I take the product, test it once, which takes me like 3-4 hours for one sample. And I create the data, and then other half of the shift, I'm just preparing the paperwork for most of the clients.
Okay, so this is the role that you're currently doing. What about the first role that you had done immediately post graduation? What kind of role can students expect as an entry level job? And this goes out to all of you on the panel.
For the first, like very first job I had was geochemical analyst, which was in SGS. That SGS was situated in very north of Ontario in Lakefield Village. So as an international in a new country, I had to move to the village where there was no transport system, nothing at all. There was just one grocery store where we have to walk, and even there were no local buses to commute. So that was a very different experience. And in that job, it was mostly of the mining sample. So I would get soil sample, and the sample preparation team will grind it and make it into a pellet for us to test. And then what we will do is like we will analyze it through X-rays and gas chromatography and other spectrophotometry and picometer to test what are the elements are there, like gold, silver, titanium, aluminum, even the heavy metal. And we were also working on radiative metals. So those were like the high risk factor. So we had to be in mask, PPE and everything. It was difficult. And I left that job in just 3 months. So I don't really count it as experience on my resume, because to actually gain the experience to say that I know the role, I think person should work at least 3 to 6 months.
Got it. Okay.
That was my very first experience as an entry level.
Okay, what about you? You mentioned mentioned the co-op program. So not from that, I have a question for you. Were you able to get a job right after graduating, or did you feel like you needed to study more in order to enter the workforce?
I did get a job, and I was in Centennial College itself right away.
Really? Okay.
So, but that was only because I was in communication with the mentors, and like they're your teachers now. I call them mentors. So that was because I was in touch with them. So that was one of my first link. Yes, I was thinking to go to UFT or some other university to get my master's program done. But to being an international student, the master's program was 3 times more expensive than domestic at that point.
Of course.
So the idea was then start looking around. So it took me almost, how much? 6-7 months to get a first job. And that's not a one on my profile. That was in the lab, but the lab was for the animals. So I was testing their stool samples, the urine samples, and then I was not in the microbial load because for that they needed MLT certification. because it was blood group. So it was because it was blood work on it. So that was a big problem for me because even to get into MLT program at that point, it was the requirement was you have to be a PR, a citizen of Canada. So I couldn't go to the MLT program at that point. So started searching around. I was working in Centennial College and I was looking outside too. At some point, I was also working at Pan, which is just opposite to it. Yeah, I was just a security guard over there, just working off shifts over there and then getting money for the master, collecting money for the master's program. But then I got a job in St. Helens Meat Packers. I was there for 1 year. It was a slaughterhouse. Um, everything we learned about meat practices in theoretical part was now be implemented in practical part. So you have to see how everything was done. I'm not going to explain the process, uh, but it was in process. And then eventually, I grew a consciousness, I would say, and then I was said, That's it. I couldn't do it anymore." So I quit the job. I did that in my resume and then started searching around. And then I got a job in Quarta Dairy. Out of nowhere, they called me one day and said, "Hey, can you come for an interview?" I did apply for a job like 4 months before I got the interview, and then I went over there. That was done in one day, and now it's a small Bob King. It's a small town, also like Lakefield. So I had to go over there. Um, I was single at that point, and then so the best part was the company provides accommodation to you, or they'll search an accommodation for you. It could be you staying with one of the employees if they're okay, or the company put me in one of their cottages for the remaining uh, in the cottages for a couple of years till in cottages when I was still working there. I lived in a cottage which was just a couple of meters away from the lake. I had to pay rent from my paycheck, but everything else just covered by the company. So, and I liked it. But then, and when I got married, I have to move to Lactalis because my wife was not able to travel to Bob Cajun because it was a small town, and she wouldn't even get a job over there. Uh, Kawartha was different. It was fun. I still once in a while I just go to Bob Cajun and meet the people I used to work over there. The plant manager back in my days is a friend of mine, and then usually on a long weekend I would go over to his place and we would stay for the whole weekend. Me and my wife, we would do it, and then I had a couple of friends over there. Then I moved to Lactalis, which is a big dairy industry, and then of course everybody has seen Lactantia product in their shelves or Beatrice products. So that's what I make in my shift. So yeah, but to add to your point, if you had co-op, yes, your job would have been started a couple of months after graduation, not from 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. So co-op does help. Some of it is paid. Knew a couple of people whose co-op was paid. I guess that was Maxim at that point who was paying co-op to the students. But it was a competition because they would choose only a couple of them.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mahima, what about you? So the question I just to refresh is that, do you feel like after graduation, students, I'm sorry, let me restart. Do you feel like after graduation you were ready to step into the workforce, or did you feel like you needed to study some more in addition to your degree at Centennial?
Honestly, I'll be like completely honest, because I know we are doing this for students here. So let's be honest. I was tired of studying at Centennial for 2 years, and I was just like, I just can't start working, because I was like, like I actually studied more than what I thought I will be studying. So I studied a lot more. So, and I was like, I'm tired now. I want to just go and start working. So I was, you would be surprised to know that before reaching my final semester, like my last semester, I actually started applying to many jobs. And then along with my studying, I was making sure that I'm applying to at least like 2 to 5 jobs in a day. And career services offices were a big help to me. They were helping me work on my resume. So I can be thankful enough up till today. They helped me a lot towards my resume, towards my professional, like, style. And they were like, when you go to the interview, you have to present yourself like this. And they helped me shape my LinkedIn. So everything, every single thing they helped me with so that I can land into a job. And then I kept applying, and then I thought I was not able to get into a job during my last semester because, as people said, like it takes around 3-4 months to get into a job. So I was like, okay, I'll be, ready in advance. And then, but that time my thought process was, since I was an international student, I couldn't land into a job because I don't have a work permit, and nobody wants to hire you on a study permit, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just graduate and then have the work permit on hand, and let's keep applying in the way I was doing before. But it still took me like 9 months to land into a field job. And honestly, I didn't feel that I need to study something extra, because honestly, I didn't know what is really happening inside a food industry, inside a pharmaceutical industry, or inside a healthcare industry, and what sort of licenses and certification works there. I tried to build my contact, but all I can see from people's LinkedIn profile was their experience. You know what I mean? So I didn't feel that I needed to, go for another course or learn something extra. But only thing was that, like, the network, so you got to keep applying, applying, and you make sure that you're using your resources right. You know what I mean? Like LinkedIn, Indeed, and like so Indeed is not only enough. Like, I was so surprised to know when my friends got hired that they got hired with the word of mouth. And the company, how did it was, they never had a job posting on Indeed for their position or anything. So they just told him, okay, you know what, we want to hire you, we want to work with you. Like, let's say he was working as a security guard over there and they liked him, and then they asked him for the, like, what are you doing and what are you studying? And he was like, I'm studying this biotech, I'm really interested in pharmaceutical. So, and that was a pharmaceutical company where he was working as a security guard. So they were like, okay, you know what, why don't you come and join us? Because they were like, they were highly satisfied with him. So they were like, so he was like, yeah, I keep applying, but I don't get into a job, and I'm already graduated and I already have my work permit. So they were like, okay, you know what we're going to do, we're going to bring out one job position on our website, so you just apply to it and your hiring is almost done. So you know what I mean? So they never had a job posting on Indeed. So imagine if he would have waited for that job on Indeed, it would have never come his way, right? So that's what I'm saying, that for me personally, how I landed into my first job was that I applied directly on the company's website. That job posting was nowhere, like not on LinkedIn or not on Indeed, it was nowhere. So I directly applied to the company. So honestly, I feel that use your resources right and use your network right, and that should be more than enough for you to land into a field job. Yes.
Got it. All right. Simran, I have a question for you.
Sure.
In sentence, can you tell me what lab skills, technical and soft skills, that are you using the most?
Using the most, like technical skills, I would say throughout my work experience, I have used aseptic techniques a lot throughout in my public health Ontario experience and as a geochemical lab tech. Right now in quality assurance, that is not something that I use, like aseptic techniques. That does not actually concern my experiments or any practical that I'm doing. Other than that, other technical skills are like HPLC, gas chromatography, spectrophotometry,
What
all
about
those, and creating Excel graphs. That is very important to know how to create an Excel sheet and the formulas to get the result and calculation. And the soft skills, I would say communication, definitely, and computer skills.
all right. Okay, same question for you in just one line. So maybe what are the two top technical skills and two top soft skills that you use the most at your current role?
So communication is the biggest one. If you don't, I have a team of 100 people under me, which includes lab, production, processing, warehouse, and sometimes managers too. So I have to communicate everything to them. If there are big mess ups which happen in our place, I still have to communicate with them what I did. So communication is the biggest thing. If you cannot communicate with your peers, then you have to work upon it. Um, to be
What
honest,
about
I was shy in the beginning of communicating with them, with my peers, but still slowly you build up confidence and start communicating with them. Uh, yes, what you were saying, Asna?
what about the technical skills?
Well, when I was in the lab, I was using aseptic techniques a lot, especially plating techniques in every place. So pipetting was one of them, and then also how to do chemical analysis. So how to use titrations, and then have to use. We didn't have HPLC gas chromatography. We have FT1 machine. I was also responsible for calibrating the machine. FT1 checks your butterfat percentages. It also checks how much proteins, how much solids you have in there. So kind of similar. It's kind of it uses chromatography as it's one of its main principle behind it, but it's an FT1 machine. So, and of course, we also had machines cryoscope for checking water content in the milk. Um, in meat factory, it was again microbial techniques, and it was that microbial techniques we have to be very much careful because those results are shared by CFI right away as soon as they come in. So if they see any problems, and then we are in big issue. You must have heard there was a meat factory known as Riding Agency in down near Kiel subway station. Does anybody have heard about it? It was closed down by CFIA because they messed up their findings to CFIA. They had pathogens in the meat. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was shut down. That was probably 3 4 years ago. You can still look up on Google. You can find it. So if your aseptic techniques are not good, chances are those things can happen to your company also. Look at I don't remember the name. The company which makes baby formula, they were also shut because the aseptic techniques they were using was all botched. The results were fake to the public, to the FDA. So aseptic techniques have to be 100% correct. You make a mistake, let the supervisor know. Let your lab manager know.
All right.
Sometimes you make media, and your media is also botched.
Yeah, I hear you. That's really great. I'm hearing aseptic techniques and communication twice. I think if anyone working on these skills right now, I think that must be something I would prioritize if I was in that place.
Yes.
I did have this question earlier for Mahima, but I think you might have had issues at the time. Mahima, you mentioned you wanted to go into the healthcare field, and I have Camille asking, what is this transition looking for you right now from biotechnology into healthcare?
That's a very interesting question, and I'll try to keep it short as much as I can. Okay, so I got hired because of the COVID. Okay, being honest, they want a lot of people in public health to do the COVID testing, and so you gotta be licensed if you want to enter in healthcare field. So those two licenses are medical lab assistant and medical lab technologist. Okay, so medical lab assistant / technician is a course which Centennial also has. So you gotta be licensed in either of these. But we got lucky because they were like, okay, so you have biotech and you're from Centennial, so you might know all these techniques, so let's hire you. So I got hired there, and then as soon as I started working there, a few months down the lane, I was like, I just want to stay in healthcare now. Okay, so like I out of all my past experiences, I loved healthcare. So So the transition for me personally was really awesome, as I would say, because I was always looking for such opportunity where I can work in a lab, work in a research lab. And I'm personally fond of genetics. So I love studying that subject a lot. So, and I got to work in that. So I was so happy. So the transition, I would say it was not that bad. The very good thing is that they are super careful about the testing and the results. So they want to make sure that you're doing everything right. So they give you like the best training that they can. So we were in training for like about 2-3 weeks, and we had like one-on-one training. Someone was always on our head while we were doing stuff during that training period. So I would say it was like a month or 2 months long training period for me, since I actually proved them, okay, you know what, I can work alone now. So I would say it was so good. Like I was sure at the end of the day what I was doing, and then I am doing it to the best ability that I can. And for now, I know that when I'm going to stay in this field for future, I am actually studying for the licensing. So instead of the medical lab technician license, I'm studying for the medical lab technologist license. So if you see, I don't want to go into much detail right now, but if you compare the differences, medical lab technologist person works on a bigger level than medical lab technician. So that's what I'm doing right now. So if anyone out there is planning to go in healthcare field, I would strongly recommend being licensed either as MLA or MLT. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I actually have that question. You said you're getting licensed right now. Does that mean you're going back to school and doing the traditional, classes route, or are you taking an alternative approach to getting licensing?
Um, sorry, I'm just having a question here. Can you please read your question? Sorry.
Of course, not an issue. You said you're getting licensed now into becoming a technologist,
Yeah.
and I believe lab technologist.
Yes, I'm doing medical lab technologist. Yeah.
So is this a program you're doing traditionally at school, or are you doing an alternative route to getting licensed?
No, for me, I chose a full-time course because like I had two options, either go for the medical lab technician or the medical lab technologist. But when I saw the differences and the people who I was working with, they were all licensed at medical lab technologists. So they were like, if you want to go, then just do one thing at like properly, so that you don't have to study in the future, or you don't have to go for any further studies or any further licensing needs. So I was like, okay, I'll go for the medical lab technologist. So that's a full-time course, and I am doing it right now, and I'm actually a student, and I'm in school. So, and it's a 3-year long program. So for me, I started this course in September 2022. So I'm graduating in 2025. So I'm a typical back to student life person.
All right, and this is in addition to the job that you're doing full time. Is that correct?
So I switched myself to part-time there because they offered me part-time. So, and I was not able to handle, honestly, it's so much studies, it's a lot. So I was like, okay, I'll just, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it part-time, and that's it. So yeah.
No, that's great. I'm very excited for you. Best of luck on your journey.
Thank you so much.
All right. So my next question, Simran, can you tell me one thing that you learned on the job that you did not learn at Centennial or in your training?
Wow. I don't think anything that I have learned. Honestly, Sentinel course is designed in a way that it covers everything: food, water, pharma, soil, everything. So when I was working in the different industries, I actually never had a moment where I would stop and think like, oh, I have never heard of this process or this instrument or this experiment, because uh, the course was designed in a way that I was familiar with most of the basic analytical experiments, and the processes that industries use in vast variety. Like it includes everything. And it also includes PCR. So that course that I had, biotechnology advanced, it has everything: PCR, soil microbiology, water microbiology, pharmacy, this component, water testing. So honestly, I never had that moment. At
That's
least not till
incredible.
now.
So in addition to the degree that you got from Centennial College, would you recommend students to get any additional certification or training? I know that right now, recent graduates are getting HACCP training built
Yes,
into
very important.
itself. So it's mandatory for all of us to get HACCP, as part of the course that we graduate with. So in addition to that, is there anything that you recommend?
Oh, it was not mandatory back when I was graduating. However, if you have HACCP, SQF license or certification, it can really push you forward in the list when the company is like filtering the candidates. I had moments where someone has, like hiring manager have asked me, do you have SQF certificate or HACCP? I was like, no. And they're like, okay, we can't process further. It's like, oh no. I wish I had. Yeah, so yeah, that can actually put you ahead of many other candidates and make you one of the most potential.
All right. I actually have a question. So the certifications that you're talking about, can I request you put it in the chat just with maybe one line about what it is for those that may not know it?
Yeah, sure.
In the
SQF
meantime-
is for food handling. If you want to pursue your career in quality assurance or technician in any food industry or water industry or beverages in short, SQF will definitely take you so much further. And I think you can do it from home. It's online. You just have to give the exam, and just like HACCP. So I will definitely put it down on the chat.
Got it. So Abhay, I have the same question for you. Is there anything that you learned on the job that you didn't learn within your biotechnology degree?
Let me say one of those hiring manager questioned me. No, not question. I guess he said Centennial College program is designed is it covers everything, and he said he loves graduates from Centennial College. So everything was in the program title. The only thing I guess I learned is because we didn't have HACCP certification when I was a student, so that's what I did by myself. I'm trying to get ASQ certificates too. Like there's ASQ certification. Uh, you have to become a member for it first, and then you have to give the exams. So you can prepare the exam, and then you can become an ASQ certified personnel. I'm also my company is trying to get me SAP certification, which is for your supply chain management. So in SAP now, because everything is coming now more digitalized, so your batches, your QA holds, release, your material intake can be checked in SAP. And now SAP is also used by quality systems too. So our quality manager uses SAP for everything. So if you get SAP certification, it's a bit on expensive side. It costs around between $5,000 to $10,000, depending which level you want to go. But if you want to go, you can always look at warehouse SAP certification. That's what he's using now. Many companies are enrolling in SAPs. My company enrolled in SAP 3 years ago. Quartz going in SAP on SAP when I left. They had their own certificate. They had their own systems. But yes, nowadays, if you have LinkedIn profile jobs description, they require if you have knowledge of SAP, which is an asset, and if you have it, it's good.
All right, that's great. Just before I forget, can I ask you to please put that in the chat, the certifications that you mentioned?
I already did. There's also one I added was 6 certification. That's how you handle So Six Sigma certification is usually handled by like on manager roles, because then you evaluate how you're gonna look at the issue, how you're gonna solve it, how you're gonna use the resources. So I'm trying to get Six Sigma certification too. There are 6 levels in it. So if you start getting the smaller ones, it would be good, because the highest one you need somebody who is already the high, because you have to be under a mentee mentor program for the highest Six Sigma certification. So it's like 3 years or 4 years kind of certification you need to go through.
Understood. Thank you. So, Fatima, hi, how are you?
I'm good, and I'm really sorry that I was missed during the first part. It was just a work emergency and I had to jump in, but I am back. And yeah, about these trainings, I completely agree with everyone who spoke before me. All these certification, I went through the same one. I started with HACCP. When I left school, I had no certifications at all. But I do believe that HACCP is something you can easily do online, especially if you don't want to spend money. There are a lot of websites you can get it and you can stand out. But I do believe once you are in your job tells you, and according to that, you can build on to certificates. I am also just like Abhay said, I already have like Six Sigma, PMT, and I got it through my job and what our job requires, and we move on and we shape ourselves in the industry later on.
That's really great. You mentioned what your job requires. Do all of you have a place? Perhaps you hear it internally within your companies, or perhaps you have a resource online that you go on to see what is the next step in terms of continually growing. What certifications can I do to advance myself, to keep myself in check? Is there something like that any of you check, other than the internal the company requirements that come through?
So for me, I'll jump in. So for me, I honestly look on a lot of OFPA as well as a lot of websites to keep myself updated, because we work with both, like throughout the company I works globally. So sometimes I constantly look on websites. I cannot remember certain websites, but I just Google and then I'll keep on learning. Like US FDA has so many courses. So such, and even CFI, you can just look it up online. And then from there, you can just build up. If the job doesn't tell you certain things, but yeah.
All right. Okay, I actually would like to take a moment and have a little speed round, and I'll have each of you just shoot out your answers one word or one line at a time. So back when you were studying, did you have a favorite course that you had? And just shoot out your answers. There's no order. There's no right or wrong.
Analytical chemistry by Jillian, just because of Jillian.
That was your
Yeah.
favorite?
Exactly
my
the same,
most
just because
favorite.
of Julian.
Most
That
favorite, yeah.
will be mine too.
Amazing.
Mine was Food Micro by Alan Richardson.
Got it.
Dow only available for 3 weeks, and then Steve here took over the course. He
I
was a teacher
understand.
back in the day.
I haven't had the chance to learn with Alan myself, but I'm very interested. Jillian, actually, I completely agree. She's an incredible professor, but that course, I've heard when I ask the question, what is your least favorite course? That's the answer, analytical chemistry. So it's fascinating that like 65% of my panel here would recommend that. All right. So I have that question for you now. What is your least favorite course that you did?
For
Food
me,
chemistry.
systematic microbio, I hate it.
Food chemistry.
For me, I didn't have anything that I didn't enjoy. I always loved reading. But the only thing I really found very interesting to learn on top of what we were studying was English. Like, why am I going through hoops writing letters and essays in a science program?
Yes, I agree. This is something that we're still doing. Now, again, when you were studying, did you ever find yourself um, struggling with an assignment, perhaps even failing an assignment, but in the end you turned it around and that course ended up great for you? Did you have an experience like this?
Yeah, I think I was failing in pharma microbiome in the initial days. I didn't like it. I didn't want to attend the classes too. So, and I ended up failing because the test was super tricky. So, and I remember I went to the prof and I was like, I failed. I was like almost near to failing. And then he was like, did you attend my classes? I was like, no. He's like, that's why. And it was a simple, like 30-second meeting. So, but what happened in the end was that the reports that I used to do in my lab came out to be really good. So, like I got, I think 90% on almost all my reports. So that was like a change or a surprise to me.
For me, it was analytical chemistry. For the first half of the semester, I was just failing in all the class tests. For some reason, I don't know what was I doing wrong. All the equations were wrong, and all the calculation I would do were just turning out to be disaster. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going wrong. And then the teacher was like, and I talked to the professor as well. So they were like, your basic concept are weak, so focus on that, which I did. And then later on, I ended up like passing the course and with a good grade. So that's how I did that one.
For
But
me, it was a different experience, honestly, because I loved studying. I didn't get a chance to feel that horrible, but I was a student who was like sometimes good at everything and bad at everything at once. I had my phases. Like right after my co-ops, I remember that dreaded last semester I had to do because I took co-op back to back and I had like a co-op, then semester in between co-op, and then there was this final semester, and then you graduate. So that semester used to be like, why am I still in school? I know I just wanted to like work in the industry so bad. And like from my co-op, I was so lucky enough that I was already getting offers before even graduating. So I got jobs even before I graduated. So I was like, oh, why do I have to study? Why do I have to study? And like the last semester, I was like I think the first half, I was in denial that I didn't want to study. I was like, I'm done. Co-op was great. I know my things. I know what industry looks like. I have all the good things in my bag right now. So I don't want to study. But right after the fifth, like I think half of the semester, I realized that something is wrong. I don't feel the kick of studying anymore. And yeah, I had to like bring myself back and just bring into that momentum that Fatima, you still need to pass this semester.
Oh, I can completely understand that. So, as we're starting to wrap up, I actually have a question now that you have experienced both the student life and the full-time working life. Which one is easier? All of you.
study, definitely study, because you have less responsibility. While you are working, your signatures are going on all the paperwork, and so you are actually taking the responsibility. While studying, I think you have just one job: study and have a good grades. But when you are working, you also have to manage your life, your paychecks and everything. And if you are, planning to study further, then you have to focus on that part as well. So there are so many things get mixed up when you are working, and while you are working, it's just too much
Hmm. I think
than
for
being a
me,
student.
it's working. I can't wait to graduate and I can't wait to just work. And it was the same for me when I was in Centennial. I was tired of studying whole time, and it doesn't leave you with any sort of personal life for yourself. So that's just something that I hate. And I was a much more social person when I was working full time. So definitely working is the best time.
Oh, yeah. All right. I actually have an incredible number of questions. So as we are wrapping up, I would like your opinion, just so I can get through as much as I possibly can now that I have all of you and all of this experience in one place. I have a question. Circling back to the conversation we were having earlier in terms of would it be better after I have my biotechnology degree, let's say from Centennial, for example, would it be better if I chose a master's route, or would it be better that I get these certifications that we talked about? In your opinion, which is more valuable?
Masters is much more beneficial than certifications, because there are some jobs which require a master's degree, and some of them, like my uncle, he's a scientist, the PhD one. He doesn't have any certification. He only has master's, PhD. That's it. And he's a director he's a director in a pharmaceutical company. I won't name the company though, but he is in use. So both him, his wife, are masters and PhD. They don't have any certificates. Yes, certifications help if you want to grow up in your career levels. Like, my next step is a manager, right? So for me, becoming a manager, I need a bit of more experience, and then maybe SAP certification or Six Sigma certification. That's it. Then I move on, become a manager. But at one point, it will stop because I don't have a master's. The vice president of food quality in my place has a master's. The vice president of finance has a master's. So your career growth will stop at one point because the next step, which they requires from you, you don't have it. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. Same thing is with me now, because I want to jump up to a level higher than manager, but I need a master's. I'm struggling to have a 4-month-old baby and a wife who's on maternity leave. I can go and jump to master's. Somebody take care of the house. But if you get a chance right now, jump for master's. Jump for it.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Honestly, I think the very opposite way. If you guys are doing this certificate, you guys have invested a lot right now already as a student, and especially as an international student. I believe like a lot of you are international students just like me, and I am a manager right now, luckily. And like, you have to learn on your job. It's fine you don't have a master's right now. Centennial gives you a pedestal to fight in the same position as other people. Yes, I understand the people who have masters will climb the steps faster than you. Like, I have co-workers who started working as HACCP coordinators or coordinators, and graduating from Centennial maybe place you on somewhere near a technician level. But it's okay. You will reach there. Honestly, a lot of my friends, especially I know from my batch, I still am in contact with a lot of Centennial friends. They don't have a master's, and all of them are somewhere working as a QA manager along with me as a QA manager. It's fine. You don't have a master's right now. If you feel after a while you are stuck, and a lot of people feel that. So what I would suggest right now, straight out of graduating, don't waste your money, because you have already invested so much, and Centennial has given you the basics to enter the field. Because what I feel sometimes, like the way I entered food industry is, I entered the food industry, and after working for a while, I switched my career in food industry. I do not look at just food per se. Like, yeah, SQF has a, I still look at it, but I am in a completely different role right now where I handle supplier management, which is like something else in food industry. So maybe that requires an MBA and you don't need it right now, you know? So that's just my perception and what I feel. Like you definitely will feel like stuck. And right now, maybe it's the time. Everybody is feeling like that. It's just the inflation and recession feeling like that. And it's giving everyone the tremors like, hey, I want to move up quickly. Everybody wants to move up in this age and era and in this time period. But it's okay. You guys have studied for like a long period of time. That's fine. You guys will start a little bit lower, but once you reach that position, like a coordinator, spend that 2 years of coordinator and jump right into a manager and you'll get into it. And once you become a manager, I kid you not, you know, the best thing I did, I was that technician who was on the floor. So I knew the floor so well that when I became the manager, as FHQA manager, I remember my first day, solving problems was so much easier than those graduates from the master's degree because they never were on the field. They never were running the facility versus I was running the facility. I was doing all these small checks. So that is how I stood out because I knew from the get-go how to handle that. So maybe that can help you guys.
I honestly think it depends on what person wants to pursue further. So if you are from a biotechnology field, there is one other field, which is research. So if you want to go into research, you definitely have to do the master's. But if your focus is more towards management role or getting more money or like other like industrial roles, supervisor or management, then it's like hit or miss. It can help and it probably would not. Because when I was working at Public Health Ontario, I had so many co-workers who had PhD in molecular biology from top universities. They were working the same level as me, and I only had advanced diploma from Sentinel College and a bachelor's from back home. So that's when I asked them, like, how are you struggling to get a job and still landing on my level? That's when they told me, like, it does not really matters because their their goal is to go into research, and this is just a platform that's gonna provide them experience to land into research. So that's when we separated, and I went to QA and they actually went to the research later on. So because they had PhD, they were able to, but if I wanted to, I would not, because I don't have a master's or PhD. So it totally depends on what you want.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that all of you have differing opinions on this, simply because of the way that you studied and of course the career pathway that you're looking forward to. And more importantly, I think that you're all looking at this you're looking at the same goal, which is, like Fatima said, career growth, but from a completely different point of view. So I guess the answer to that question, for who asked it in the chat, is that there's no one fixed way of doing it. You could go and get a master's first, or you could just get your foot in the door and work yourself up. And once you hit a wall, there's always the option of going back to school, getting that career growth, just as Mahima is doing right now, and then coming back at the next level, right? Alternatively, so I guess what I'm trying to say is there's that immediate vertical growth, there's horizontal growth, and there's actually the choice of doing whatever you want and figuring it out either way. Because even if I wanted to do a bachelor's and then this degree and then a master's afterwards and a certification afterwards, there's no guarantee that I'm going to end up exactly where I want to end up. So there's a good aspect of just do it and figure it out as you go. So I really appreciate genuinely that all of you have differing opinions on this. So I do actually, for all of our participants here, I have a little prize round for those who were paying the most attention, for those that were the most engaged in the chat and things like that. But before I start giving out the goods, I wanted to ask you, do you have any final words of advice for our students, whether these, and just keep in mind that our audience is a mix of Centennial College biotechnology students who are graduating soon, and a mix of potential students who are not in biotechnology right now, but considering it as a career choice. So do you have any final advice, just in a, like 1 or 2 sentences?
Not lose hope.
Don't lose hope, you said?
Yes. Don't. Because so it was at my point that PR was not going to go through. I was losing hope. Maybe I may have to go back to India again and start from scratch. But I didn't lose hope. And then PR came through, and that was just before my work permit got expired. Let's say a month before, if I remember correctly. So do not lose hope. Always keep hope.
That's great advice.
I would say that if you are current student and about to be graduate, start looking for the job in your last semester. And if you are thinking of biotechnology as your potential career, it's definitely a good choice because it can open so many doors for you. For example, in pharmaceutical company, food industries, beverages, alcohol, so many quality and other industries that if not biotechnology, you will definitely land in pharmacy or maybe in other industries. So it will definitely take you somewhere where you want to be.
Right. All right.
For me, it will be perseverance and high degree of perseverance. It's going to take you like a lot ahead in the future. So there will be times when you'll be like, okay, I'm not hearing anything from anyone. As I was saying, that I was not getting any interview calls for like quite a month. But don't lose hope, as Abhay said, and rightly as Simran said, that be prepared in ahead of time, so you know where you want to go and how do you want to make your path. So perseverance, it's going to be a great deal, especially the right after you graduate. So trust in yourself, it will happen. Yeah.
All right.
I would say the same thing as everyone. Just start looking before you guys graduate. Like, don't wait till the last minute because there is a month. Just like Mahima said, it takes months for people to respond. Especially right now, it's just the atmosphere around us. People are like companies, big companies, small companies. They are doing something called hiring freeze, where they don't hire anymore, or there is a period. So this is just a unicorn period where you guys will be graduating, not just biotechnology, but everybody graduating. And just don't look like just how Simran said, there are so many small aspects of food safety, not just QA. There is buyers, there are so many small roles you can get into. Just get your footstep into the industry you like. If you want to be into pharmacy, look into, like, there are so many assistant roles, associate roles, or just technician roles. Start applying from it, even if you know that you're going to graduate after 4 months, because maybe after 2 months you'll realize that I need to switch my resume. I'm seeing nothing. Or maybe on LinkedIn, you'll feel like you need to network more. And after networking, meeting headhunters, find HRs of the company. If there are like 3 months, 2 months left, start finding HRs of every company. Like, make them your network. Start talking to them, even if they are not hiring right now, because they will. There will be a period where they'll start hiring suddenly. And if you have already reached out to them, it's very clear in their mind. They have your resume already. They just have to connect dots then. And don't rely on Indeed or just one website. Try multiple sources. Start networking people. And I will even see you guys in person. So yeah, we can chat more when I see.
Thank you, Fatima, Simran, Mahima, and Abhay. This is all incredible advice. And for taking the time out with us. I wish I could go into some of, I actually have a lot of questions and I would love to continue speaking with you endlessly. But I wanted to take the time. Thank you so much for your advice. I would like you to stay on for another couple of minutes because now, based on everything you've said, I have a couple of questions for the participants that are here with us. I'm going to share my screen now. And this is visible to everyone, yes? Blue screen.
Yes.
Yes, great, awesome, thank you. All right, we have prizes. This is, we're partnering with NEM, the National Engineering Organization, as well as this event is hosted by Centennial College. So we've had our alumni and some of our industry specialists come in and give us this talk, taking time out of their day. At the end of this, I feel like the greatest takeaway is the advice. I hope that you've been scribbling down all of the incredible things that they've been saying. One moment, I'm going to keep the chat open. I see that it's going on. Yes. I hope that you've been scribbling down everything that they've been saying, because I know I sure have. While this is going on, I'm sorry, I'm having an issue with my Zoom. Will you give me just one moment? Can somebody give me the A-OK? Can you hear me? Yes, okay, fantastic. So we'll start our question and answer round. What I would like for our participants to do is put your answers into the chat. The first person to get the right answer wins the prize. Today we have some incredible prizes up for grabs. And these, you can choose which prize you like, but in my personal opinion, the most priceless option is having your resume edited by our own professor, Yvonne Henry. She's incredible at this. She's been doing this, and she's been doing this successfully for a long time. And I actually don't even feel like I need to shout her out anymore, because anyone who's interacted with her knows that having your resume edited by somebody who has the knowledge, the experience, and the connections knows exactly what the right resume looks like. I will add that she teaches a class exactly on this. She knows exactly what she's talking about, and this would be a priceless gift if you did win it. And my second choice would have been a 30-minute mentorship call with a professor from Centennial College. This, I feel like, would be invaluable if you had the questions in mind, if you knew exactly what you were looking for in this conversation. This could be a very productive, very informative session for any student. And finally, we have a bunch of gift cards to give out. These are completely up to you, whatever you would like in terms of the retailers. It could be Amazon, it could be Cineplex, it could be iTunes, whatever you want. But we have gift cards of $15 values to hand out. So now I'm going to start the questions. I'm going to do a quick trial round, make sure everyone's on board. If you know the right answer, put it into the chat. First person to get it, you can choose your prize. The trial question, what college is hosting this event right now? Centennial College, yes. So the first person to answer this was Rohan Kumar, but I will say some of you are messaging me directly, privately, which is great. That's totally fine, but other people cannot see your answers. If you put it to everyone, everyone can see it at the same time. Incredible. Okay, that was a trial round. Now everyone knows what to do. You know how fast to act. Your first question is, can you name one of the certifications that were mentioned tonight by any alumni? One certification program. Six Sigma, there we go. Gautami, you win. What I will do is keep a track. I'm keeping a track of who's winning, and then the prize information will be sent to you via email afterwards. All right, perfect. So Gautami, what do you want to choose out of the three options available here? The first option, that's a great choice. I would have done the same thing, like I mentioned. And I know Professor Yvonne is on this call right now. And I'm really excited for you to have this opportunity. I might actually sit in on that session and get some tips for myself. Moving on, the next question. And I hope that the panel themselves are not helping, but the question to the participants is, where does Abhay currently work? He mentioned it a couple times during this call. Where does he currently work? The name of the company. Yes, Baljinder, Lactalis. What prize would you like? Number one. Can they choose the same prize twice? Professor Yvonne, what are you saying to this?
Of course, I'll do it. I can help them both with resumes. I think I've already seen Baljinder's resume. So
Yeah, Professor, I'm gonna come with the cover letter this time.
okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Deal.
Perfect. Okay, that was very fast actually. All right, third question. I only have a few minutes before I have to let you all go. This one's hard, okay? So think hard. Which of these panel members, which of these alumni had job offers before they graduated, and why? Of all the members on this panel right now, who had a job offer before they graduated, and they mentioned why they got it?
So it's a two-part question. You have to answer who and why. Yeah, we got the answer there.
There we go. Camille, you are the first person to get this right. Do you have a prize in mind? It is Fatima, and it is because of her co-op program. Option 2, that's incredible. I'm really happy for you.
I love this. We're trying to give away money and they're not taking it.
Right?
I'm not that special. No problem. They'll gladly give it to anybody.
They don't want the $15. They want the higher salary. They know what they're doing.
Smart. That is smart. That does pay off more in the long run, of course.
All right. One moment. I'm sorry, my Zoom is doing something very funny, and this is the most unfortunate time of all the Zoom classes. It could have frozen in. Now is when it decides. Professor, can I have you take over for just a second? I feel like it's going to kick me out.
Certainly, yeah. So I think that was kind of just the end of it, actually, right, Ashna? We were just wrapping up. We have 3 awesome prizes handed out. We could do one more question if anybody wants to vie for a cash prize or a gift certificate prize. Anybody want to try for that? Of course, why not? There's always gift prizes. So let me see. I gotta think of another question then. All right, I'm gonna make this a tricky one. Who was mine and Abay's favorite teacher at the college? What was his name? A lot of you might not have known him. He retired a few years after. You got it.
Do you miss him?
Yeah, they got it. Alan, I know it's so unfortunate that he's not teaching. I loved his teaching style. I try and copy it now. So that's sort of where I got my teaching inspiration from with him. So yeah, he's made an impact on the college and future generations of microbiologists for sure.
I think he retired the same year he taught our batch, so we were the lucky last ones.
Right, because he retired, I think, a year after I started. So it was like he left it, and then I took over food micro, and it became my little baby course. So yeah,
We were like, yay!
that's the way it worked. I know
I
there's.
only had it 3 weeks only, and it was a big impact.
You only had him for 3 weeks?
Yes, only for 3 weeks because I joined in summer
Ah,
summer of 2013, and then he was going for his annual vacation. And then when I was lab assistant for the disability department, I asked him, "Can I come to lectures? Because I have missed them."
mhm.
And he said, "No." So I would. He gave me a schedule, and I would go in that big lecture hall, sit in the back, and then see his lectures, to his lectures.
That's awesome. I know.
Yeah.
For me, I feel old, guys. I am the older one here. So I actually did my food micro with Alan. He was still teaching. And I kind of feel old, but it's okay. You guys will come to my age. It's fine. Now I hire co-ops a lot, and I see like, hey, I feel old when I talk to them. Like I'm still in that mindset. The groove has not gotten into me yet. So sometimes I'm like, okay, this is Gen Z. I am millennial, and I can feel the difference. You guys do not have to rub it.
It's okay. With age comes experience. I've embraced my age. I know I'm not as young as the students, but I keep learning. So the older I am, the more learning I have done and knowledge I have to share. So that's okay. I embrace my gray hairs. Bring them on.
Yeah, for sure. Like I have embraced it too. And like I feel so lucky to meet you guys, especially all the students. It feels very warm because I was one of you attending things. And honestly, I used to run the biotechnology group, like this club. I used to be the president like back in the day. So it's so nice to like see this club up and running. We used to go in Progress Campus and like book a club. I think there was a place to book. We used to book, and there were like so many things. And we always used to be in Scarborough campus. So us going in the Progress Campus and having a STEM week was a big thing for us.
Right.
I'm so glad to hear from you. As the president of the club all so long, I have to have a conversation with you now. I'm the president, and I would love to get some ideas from you and just go over some of the interesting things that you've done. But unfortunately, our time today is coming to an end. I want to thank all of you so much for the time, the guidance, and just genuinely the knowledge you've shared with us. It's been invaluable hearing from someone who's gone through the same struggles that we're facing now, and it seems like a ridiculous amount, as we're going through it now. So it really does help hearing from someone who's made it on the other end and is doing so well right now. It's very inspiring from this side of the hill. So thank you again for the time you've taken. As I mentioned before, I do have a few more questions. So if the participants here, I have quite a few right now, but I will have a lot more watching this recording. If they wanted to reach out to you for any clarification, is there somewhere that you prefer that they do this, whether that's email, LinkedIn, or anything else? If so, could you share that in the chat?
Sure. For me, it would be LinkedIn. I am pretty vocal, and you guys can always email me as well. But LinkedIn is just my name. If you have my name, it's easier to search. And I'll add you to my network. What will happen? You will benefit from my network as well. You'll see a lot of HRs because I do that. So just add all the HRs that I have added because I like a lot of companies. So you can just be a part of that company and start reaching out to my network.
Yeah, I've shared my LinkedIn profile link, so anybody can add me. I'm not that much active on LinkedIn, but I do check the messages. I'm gonna share my work email address if I remember.
So for the participants here, you can either save from the chat that's going on right now, or alternatively, I will be emailing you the information that we had today. So whether that's for the gifts, whether that's for the recording link, or for the connections to the panel members that we've had today.
Okay, I've forwarded my LinkedIn profile so anybody can add me if they want. I did get a couple of requests. I already accepted them side by side.
I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so I already shared the link of my profile. Yeah, and I do the same as Fatima, follow and stalk all the HR around. So you will find a lot of companies, HR directors, and everyone in my account.
I have also put my email address. So if anyone wants to get in touch, feel free anytime, anywhere. You can also get in touch with me through LinkedIn. The name is as same as it you can see here. But only thing is I might miss some LinkedIn messages. So I'm really sorry for that in advance. But I am always active on my email. So just feel free and drop in an email, even if you just like say hi. So I'll reply back to you. Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, it is time now and I have to start wrapping up. But thank you again to each and every one of you for taking the time. It's been invaluable to myself, to the Biotechnology Club, that the kind of things that you have shared today and the advice that you've given. I'd like to thank the NEM team for making this possible. I know that there's quite a few members here, but there's going to be a lot more that benefit from this, not only in the next coming days, but over the next few weeks, since it's going to be hiring season very, very soon for us, with graduation coming just around the corner. So thank you so much. I will be ending the recording now, and I will see you. I have another NEM event tomorrow. Completely different batch of people, completely different topic. So I will see you, some of you then, and the rest of you, I'm very excited to be in touch over the next coming days. Thank you again for coming.